Welcome to our weekly discussion of all things current in California politics. I'm Walt Gray, joined again this week by reporter Emily Hoeven, political columnist with the San Francisco Chronicle. Emily, always good to see you again. Former Governor Schwarzenegger was in town Friday for a luncheon. His way of doing things as a moderate Republican, back when he was governor, does the Republican Party want to get back to that in this state?
Well, considering that he was, the last Republican who really won statewide office in California when he became governor, I think he does kind of represent, in a lot of ways, this sort of moderate Republican that you would have to be in California in order to really gain any traction. He's been out there talking about climate change. He's been out there talking about a lot of issues that appeal to Democrats with some of the sensibilities of a Republican. But I think that in order for the Republican Party to have any traction in California, they are going to have to kind of address some of those issues given just the voter registration of California. And I think that's why we saw the Republican Party this year consider changing its platform to remove opposition to abortion and gay marriage from its platform, and they ultimately didn't do that.
You have a column that came out recently in the Chronicle talking about the insurance crisis in California. Is this people who mostly live in fire-prone areas who, if they can get insurance, it's super expensive?
Yeah, well, this is an issue that's really affecting the entire state. And so the editorial board came out and we took a stance that basically was criticizing a lot of the congressional Democrats because they were attacking the insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara, for his plan to get more private insurers back into the market in California and kind of offload some of the liability on the FAIR plan, which is this state plan. It's very expensive. It doesn't have a whole lot of coverage that many people that live in fire-prone areas are having to get because they can't get their private insurers. But the problem is that as the FAIR plan is expanding, it's pushing out even more private insurers. And so everyone's prices are going up. And essentially, they were attacking his plan. They were saying it's going to result in rates being raised. But we are saying that kind of generally speaking, the status quo is costlier than allowing private insurers to actually make money in the state, which they've lost many of their profits, more than their profits, following the Camp Fire and some of the other really big wildfires we've had.
One of the world's big conferences, the APEC, the Asia Pacific Conference, came to San Francisco this past week. The city really cleaned up to welcome the world, and they're catching a lot of heat. I guess it took a big conference for them to clean the streets up.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the line that a lot of critics of Governor Newsom and San Francisco Mayor London Breed have been saying. The governor did acknowledge at a press conference that, the city is significantly cleaner than you would see on a day-to-day basis. And although the city has been making efforts to make it cleaner, there are a lot of residents that feel, well, why is it only when, important people come to town that suddenly all these homeless encampments are not visible, the streets are clean? And so I think that it does sort of demonstrate to a lot of folks that there is the political will and ability to address some of these trenchant issues, but it only really seems to come into play when there are these big events and not just for everyday residents who live in the city and are frustrated by the living conditions.
Yeah, you can understand how people would say something like that. Well, we'll see how long things stay clean now that the conference is gone, or will it go right back to the way it was? Emily Hoeven, always good to see you. Thank you. You can reach out to Emily Hoeven if you would like. She's at emily.hoeven@sfchronicle.com.